Today, I'm continuing my conversation with Sandy Cooper and Mary Kay Tiller from the Writing Off Social podcast. This is an interview I did with them for their podcast, and I wanted to bring it to you because I thought it would be an encouragement to you to do social media in a way that feels good for you, or not at all. Sandy, Mary Kay, and I are all completely off social media for business, and I'd say we're in agreement that we no longer feel like we're missing out. We actually feel empowered to grow in new ways. In part two, we chat about how my business has grown since leaving social media and what I'm doing to make it happen, as well as the response I get from other entrepreneurs in the online space when I tell them that I'm not on social media. I also will offer some encouragement and practical steps you can take if you too want to leave social media but are afraid to do so. And if that is you, then I need to tell you about a new resource I created for you to help you do just that. And it's absolutely free. The Craft Your Marketing Strategy Without Social Media mini course will help you to stop being a slave to the algorithm and start doing social media the way you want to, or not at all. Inside, you'll learn about 10 organic marketing strategies you may not have even thought about using, 4 strategies to get off social and find or build community and connection, and 9 steps to crafting your goal strategy for marketing without social. Am I piquing your interest at all? Then go download the 3-video mini course at redhotmindset.com/marketing. Again, that's redhotmindset.com/marketing. I'll leave a link in the show notes for you as well. What I want most for you, though, is for you to do social media in a way that feels right to you. With that, let's dive into the second part of my conversation with Sandy and Mary Kay. Hey friend, welcome to Pursuing Goals God's Way. Have you thought about finally starting that business now that your kids are older? Do you ever stay awake wondering how to mesh your passions into purposeful work? Do you have big, ambitious goals but feel overwhelmed or even unqualified to pursue them? Hey, I'm Gabe. Not too long ago, I longed for the confidence to start an online business. I just wanted to make a difference outside my home bubble using my gifts. But I kept telling myself that I wasn't good enough. I didn't know enough, and I didn't have enough time. Until I realized something huge. My kids need me to be their example, and they need to see me win. And yours do too. In this podcast, you will learn how to clarify your goals, plan with purpose, and ditch your distractions. If you're ready to make an impact and an income, all for the glory of God, then you're in the right place. As an avid runner, I believe life is one massive marathon. It's up to you to run your own race and to finish it well. So lace up those running shoes, pop in your earbuds, and let's do this thing.
In terms of your business, you have all of these coaching options and you have your podcast. How did those things change after you left social media? What have you seen since leaving?
Yeah, it's so interesting because I feel like one of the things that we need to be as God-led businesses is obedient and not just like humming and hawing. Like when you hear from God, doing it and doing it immediately, because that is obedience, right? If we don't do it immediately, it's actually disobedience. And so when I heard him say, I'm ready for you to get off, I was like, okay, sure, let's do it, not knowing. But it was interesting because literally that next month, my podcast increased by 400%. And I've been working so hard to grow this podcast for a few years now. And like I said, it might not be correlated to me getting off, but I definitely think it was correlated to being obedient because God was essentially saying, watch me. Like, I don't do it the world's way. You're doing it the world's way. I don't do it the world's way. If I want you doing this, I'm going to help you grow. If I want you doing this, then I will help you take that next right step. But I also need to know that you trust me in everything that you're doing and you're going to be obedient to what I tell you because it's not going to sound like what everyone else is telling you. And so really I needed to be like, yep, I'm going to throw out the window everything the guru said, and I'm going to hone in on letting God lead. And that's really, really hard for me because I am a control freak and I want the wheel. Like, I need to know. That's why I want to be in everyone's business, right? Like, I want to have the control. I want to have the last say. My husband just the other day was like, have you noticed, Ethan, my oldest, that your mom needs the last say? And I'm like, come on, people. It's not that.
And of course, you need to respond to that. I mean,
right?
You can't just, like, that was such a trap.
I know. And I tried really hard not to. But then, what I said is, it's not even that I need the last say. I just feel like I'm being helpful or that I am like, I just want them to know that I hear them. And so if I don't say the last thing, he goes, but then what if the other people person feels that way? But I feel like that's kind of what we do with our businesses and with God. It's like, well,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'm just going to put my thumb on the steering wheel, right? I'm just going to, I need that last little bit. I need to actually have that plan. And he's pretty much saying, have a plan, but it's not going to go like you plan. It's going to go like I plan, and it's going to be better, but it might not look better in the moment, right? And so that's just something that I've learned. But it did. My podcast increased by a lot. Now, it ebbs and flows all the time, and so I'm still working to grow it. But I also, after getting off social, I thought, well, that took a lot of my time, and so now I can be intentional in other places. What else can I drop? So I started thinking, how can I simplify my business even more? And so really all I focus on now is the podcast is my main lead generation. It's my main audience builder. And then I have my email marketing to nurture my audience. And then, I was using Pinterest for a while. I thought, oh yeah, that's a great search engine. But actually listening to Sandy and Mary Kay, listening to you two, I was like, do I really need Pinterest? So I actually dropped that just the beginning of this year. And it's just been freeing going, I don't need to create all this content. I'm just doing the next right thing. And I'm focused in on just a couple things. And I think that is essentially what has been growing my business. And then also like collaborations, like what we're doing right now. Sandy, you came on my podcast last year. I'm hanging out with you guys today. And that is a great audience builder. We are adding value to each other's audiences, and then they can get to know me. And Sandy, my audience got to know you, and they were impacted by that, and so those are the things I'm actually leaning into.
Okay. You said so much goodness in there. Okay. First
So
of
much
all,
goodness.
So much goodness. First of all, yes, the obedience to God thing. Maybe some people listening are like, I don't really know if God's telling me to get off social media. If you don't know, that's fine. But if you know, just do it. And we don't normally tell people to get off social media, but I will tell you, if you think God is telling you to get off, just do it, because he can do anything he wants. Your success or failure is in his hands. You can just trust him to connect you with anyone you need to connect him to. He can, with one connection, blow up the whole thing for good or for bad. He can really just do whatever. When you just submit your business to him, you can trust him that he has your best interest in mind. He is doing what is best for your heart and your mind and the kingdom of God. And so you can just trust him. So I will shout that from the rooftops and underscore that you said that as well. I love that you are the things that let me back up and say this. The fact that when you let go of social media and you looked at the time it freed up, your first thought was not, my first thought was personally, okay, what am I going to do with this extra 2 hours a day that I just dropped? Your first thought was, what else can I let go of? This is awesome.
That's amazing. That is such a great, that would not even have been my fourth thought.
Right. I guess it probably, I would liken it maybe to decluttering your house. You clean out a closet and you're like, this is awesome. What else can I tackle? It's probably a very similar feeling. So I love that that's where your mind went. I think that's brilliant. And then when you listed the things that are moving the needle, what are you doing instead? I heard you say, I'm planning an in-person event. My podcast is my main content driver. I am growing my email list and I write to my audience members to nurture them. And I spend time collaborating with other people so that I can reach other people and we can help grow each other's audiences. Boom, 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 boom. When Mary Kay and I, when we teach, when we lead people, you are you just named every single thing that we would recommend. And that's why your podcast can grow 400%. And that's why, you don't miss social media, because you're like, why would I ever go back to a thing which by the way, I just wanted to mention that you came on to social media at a very interesting time because Mary Kay and I started social media before there was this big algorithm shift in 2018. And so for a while, social media was working really well. Like social media, I had a post go viral on social media, which, viral now, the numbers that are viral now were not viral in 2010 or whatever, 2013, whenever that happened. But coming on the social media crazy train in 2018, you probably didn't ever experience real traction ever because it just was a bad time to try to start. Now you are actually doing the work that moves the needle. Like, this is how you're going to actually connect with other people. This is how you're going to actually grow. This is how you're going to actually sell your courses, your books, your offerings, whatever it is. And I also know, and by the time this airs, this will have already happened, but tell us about the summit that you are hosting. As of now, the recording, it's about to happen, but by the time this airs, like I said, it'll be done. But I just tell everyone, because this is another like super creative way to not only collaborate, but like grow your email list, the whole thing. Just tell everybody about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's been on my heart for a while to host my own event. I actually really do like hosting things. Maybe it's because I like control and being
Maybe.
it all goes back to that.
We can relate. Well, I speak for myself.
No, you're in good company. You're in good company.
Right. We're all like,
we're type A. We get it.
What's controlling about this? I think it's great.
But I also love seeing the transformation. Like, I love seeing people have breakthroughs and really be able to move the needle forward in their businesses or in their life, in their goals, whatever it is. And so I decided, well, I know that collaborations are the way to go. And I also know that virtual events or in-person events are a really great way to get a lot of people all at once learning something, right? And growing. And so that's why I decided to host a virtual event. And I decided, why not go big? Like, it's go big or go home, right? So I'm not doing this one day, 5 speakers type thing. I'm like, no. Let's do a 5-day event. Let's have as many speakers as possible. But what I love about it is I've been so pulled in the direction of not using social media for my business. But it's not even like you had mentioned, Sandy, it's not really about me telling you to get off social, because you might be there because you're being obedient to God. Like, God might want you there. And if he does, you stay there, girl, right? But it's about using it the way that you want to, that feels good to you. Mm-hmm. Like using it in alignment with your values and your priorities, and being intentional about how you're using it. It's not about just repurposing everything to me, that's throwing mud on the wall and hoping something sticks, right? So this event is really to help free women entrepreneurs from the hamster wheel and the algorithm that social media is, to show them that there's a better way. That yes, you can be there, you can have presence if you want, but that's not what's going to grow your business. What's going to grow your business is actually doing the marketing work. And there are so many different ways that you can do it, based on your personality, based on your capacity, based on your budget, based on all the things. And so that's what this event is for. It's really to help give all these ideas, and then you to go, I really liked these 2 or 3, and let's create a personalized plan for how to test them and to see what works. So that's it.
And you have how many speakers coming to this or speaking at this?
I have 26, and then myself as well.
That's great.
It's going to be amazing. And I hope you offer it again, and we will definitely make sure that we share it, because I do think writers are entrepreneurs. They are. It's part of the things that you have to wear. And so it's a great summit that you have created there.
Yeah. If all goes well next year, not sure if it's the same timing or not, but I'm going to let this resonate first and just see what happens, and then decide if it's what I'm supposed to do next year or not.
Yeah, that's great.
So you are gathering all of these entrepreneurs together for this summit, which is a fantastic way not only to collaborate with them, but to create community and to build those relationships with them, which is exactly a goal of yours that you've been wanting to do. I'm wondering, though, because these are all like-minded entrepreneurs who are using social media in a similar way or are not using it at all. I'm curious, though, if you have ever received any pushback from other entrepreneurs in the online space about your decision to leave social media. And if you have, then how have you responded to that?
I would say I haven't officially gotten pushback. Like people haven't been like, you need to be on to grow, right? But I do have a lot of people who go, man, I wish I could do that. Or,
Mm-hmm.
man, that decision that you made, that's pretty crazy. That's pretty out there, right? Or going, well, if you're not on social media, then what? Because
Yep.
it's just that overlying thought or expectation that you have to be there. And that's the first thing people, when they start a business, oh, I got to get all my handles and I got to get on there because that's what I need to do. And so it's more so they wish they could do that. Oh, I wish there were a way for me. I'm like, hello, there's plenty of people doing it. You just don't see us because we're not on social.
Irony.
Like even trying to get the event, I was like, it's hard to find people. I know there's
Yeah.
people who aren't on social and I've connected with a lot of you, but it's hard to find them because, where do you look?
They're not on social. That's right.
Exactly. And so I think it's more so the expectations that people have. And they're like, well, then how do I follow you? Like, I'm like, well, I have a podcast. I have a website.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I always link people to my website. That's my best. That is what I own. I own my podcast and I own my website. Why would I want to throw you somewhere where I don't own it, where I can go into Facebook jail? I know, Sandy, you got kicked off of Facebook, your business page. So, I mean, if you don't own it, they can do whatever they want. And also, I mean, I am faith-based. So I talk a lot about, I don't hide my faith. I'm like, if you're not a Christian, totally cool. Come in my space still. But I'm going to be talking about these things because it's important to me. Well, Facebook doesn't really like that. So I don't feel like that's a platform that's going to allow me to grow the way I want to grow. And so it's just those things. So the pushback I get really is just, how did you do it? How are you? I don't understand. Like, I could never do that. And so it's more that because people are always like, how do you work so much? Like, how do you get everything done? I could never do that. I'm like, no. When you're called to it, you can do it. But, if you're not called to it, that's fine. That's just not your season. That's not what is a part of your story, but it is a part of mine. So that's kind of how I respond.
Yeah, that's great. The beginnings of writing off social were actually those conversations that I was having. And I was on a book tour, on a podcast book tour. And, at the end of the discussions, it's customary, as you know, they'd say, where can people find you? And then I would say, I'm not on social media, and then I would give my podcast and my website. And then either right then, people would say, wait, what do you mean you're not on social media? Or after we stopped recording, they'd be like, no, for real, how are you doing this? And I just realized there were so many of us who were envious of those people who just like, it just seems so idyllic. Like, what do you mean? Like, you can get out? Like, are you allowed to do? Almost like, who gave you permission? Like, how did you? And so as the years are going on, I'm learning about more and more people. But when I first got off, I did not know any writers who were not using social media. I was the only one I knew. And so I didn't get pushback, but I got a lot of doubt. Like, oh yeah, she'll be back. She'll be back. But I hear from some of our listeners. I'm thinking of one listener in particular who I feel like every time she tells people that she doesn't want to use social media, she's told by whoever she's telling all the reasons why she needs to stay on. And so she says she comes back to writing off social for like a steady dose of reminding her all the reasons why she's off. And so, sometimes it depends, I guess, on who you're talking to. But, I'm curious, do you ever regret that you've left? Like, have you had any second thoughts about it? Do you ever kind of think, maybe I should try again? Or what is that like for you?
Yeah. So I would say I do get FOMO here and there. And like I said, I didn't delete my socials, so I still have them. So I could go back at any time. Maybe that's a bridge I will burn at some point. But I don't really. Maybe a good example is the summit. So it's how to market your business without using social media or without relying on social media. But a lot of my speakers are on social media, so they're going to post there. So then I'm like, well, I do have my Facebook and Instagram still. Maybe I should post about the event. And one of my entrepreneurial friends said, I don't think you should. That defeats the whole brand that you have and the whole purpose behind this event. Why would you do that so that people can see, oh, she's still using social? I'm like, good point, because I haven't posted in over a year. That would be really weird to post. So I had a little FOMO, but what if I get more people? What if I get more eyes on it, right? And so I had to step back and go, wait a second. What is my intention behind this? Like, do I really need to post on there. So it's things like that where I go, well, maybe if I were on social, I'd get a little bit more reach or whatnot. But then I look back and go, I just don't miss a thing about it. If I do start posting, I'm going to feel like I'm going to have to start posting all the time again. And that's not where I'm at in life. So I think I don't really regret it, but I do also miss seeing pictures of people that I don't always connect with. I think that's the biggest thing I miss. But I also didn't really see them when I was on there because my feed was so full of things like people that I didn't even know anymore or
Same.
ads. Yeah.
Yep.
So I was like,
Mhm.
I remember back when, because I started on Facebook in college when it just rolled out. So it was just a directory of college students. But I remember we could make these little groups and I could make a high school group. And so I could click
Yeah.
on there and see all my high school people. If they still had that, I'd probably still be on. But there's no way to do that. So I can't connect with the people I want to connect with. So I would say I don't really have any regrets. There's just little times where I'm like, maybe I should, but the shoulds don't, I feel like, what is a should? It feels like a have to. And if it's a have to, then I shouldn't.
Then I shouldn't. I love that. Shoulds should not be in your vocabulary. I think it's just, they're not helpful. And I have been known to text friends around Halloween and been like, I need all the baby Halloween pictures, please. Like, please text me. Because that's when, like you said, I start to miss it around the beginning of school and the end of school because I know everyone's posting their baby, their kids' pictures and going back to school. And I do want to see those things. So I just text them and I'm like, show me all the babies. Yeah, it is difficult and you will continue to feel those twinges. I just had a conversation with someone who I was explaining about writing off social. And further down in the conversation, they were like, so I guess you don't like post about your podcast. And I'm like, no, that would be quite opposite of our message. It was funny. They had to like really work through it. It was such a foreign idea to them. It's hard. It's difficult for people to understand and to make that shift. But, well, as we are beginning to wrap up, I would love for you to just share any encouragement that you have for writers who want to take that leap off of social media, but are afraid to do so and are asking themselves, but what if it doesn't work out?
So good. I mean, there's so many ways I could go, but I'll just share a couple of things. The first thing would be, and I'm guessing Mary Kay and Sandy, you would say the same thing, just step away for a few months, pick an amount of time and do a fast and just see how it goes. See if it feels good to you. And also I would almost journal each day or each week, just what happened. Like, what are some wins you had? What are you missing? What are you not missing? So you can really document it and then look and go, yeah, it really wasn't serving its purpose or what I thought its purpose was. So maybe I don't need to go back. So just starting there, don't feel like I'm just getting off completely, just start baby steps. Also, like we talked about, the community is really important. So before you get off, make sure you have a couple people that you recruit to be your eyes and ears, to be the ones who will let you know when something happens that you need to know about or send the pictures or things like that. Like as far as my online entrepreneur friends, I have 2 masterminds that were in Voxer groups together. So we talk daily in Voxer and I love it. If you don't know what Voxer is, it's like a voice walkie-talkie messaging app. And so it's real-time talking, but you're not on the phone with somebody or anything like that. So that, and then also one of the other encouragements that I have is to really just stop and listen. Because I think that one of the things that is hard for us is in the social media world or the tech world itself, we do not have any white space. And so really just get 5 minutes of white space a day and just take that time to pray or think or just hear for where you're going to be led. Because honestly, people are like, I can't hear God's voice. And no, I don't hear it either. I wish I could hear it audibly. I mean, that would be great. But we don't hear it unless we're quiet. We got to shut up.
Yeah.
So we need that white space in order to be creative, in order to have revelations, in order for God to speak to us. It's a 2-way street. We can't just be talking all the time and expecting him to respond if we're not giving him the time to respond. So that, and then also like the last thing, the one reason I got off to, another reason had to do with my kids. I wanted to be an example for them because they're living in a tech world, a tech heavy world. So, I do let them, my older 2 are on Instagram and my husband does monitor it. So we do monitor a lot of that. I'm not a huge fan of it, but that's the only one we allow them to have. And Ethan needed it for gymnastics recruiting and things like that. And so I'll pop in there sometimes just to see their pictures. But I want it to be an example to show them that you do not have to rely on it and it doesn't have to be an addiction because everything can become one. I wanted to show a healthy relationship with it. Now, obviously, I don't have any relationship with it anymore, but so part of the encouragement would be just think about how you can be an example for your kids or for others and to help them to see that there is a better way.
I think all of those things are so important. Taking a break, documenting how it's actually was working for you. How's it going now that you're off? Recruit some community to keep you in the loop, I think is great. Stop and listen, allow some white space, and then be an example for the people who are following you, namely your kids. I think that all of that is so powerful. I think I wouldn't even add anything to that. I think that was beautiful. Thank you, Gabe. Now we covered a lot of territory in this conversation. Is there anything else that you'd like to say that you just didn't get a chance to say you want to make sure before we get off that you say that thing?
Yeah, the one thing would be just to look at the capacity that you have and look at the season you're in, because a lot of times the gurus that you're listening to are maybe in a different season. Maybe they're single without kids. Maybe their kids are out of the house now or whatever it is, and they have a different capacity than you. So really knowing what that is and aligning what you're doing with your values and then just being in tune with God too along the way. I think that's the most important part, because in order to avoid the hustle and do things in a stressless way, we have to be willing to work in the capacity that we have and not go overboard. Yes, there are times of hustle. Yes, there are busy seasons, but it should only be that. It should only be a season. If it's more than a season, then you are going to burn out and fry and not be able to be any good to anybody. And also, then you just know I'm not living in the capacity that I need to be.
That is fantastic wisdom. I appreciate so much just everything that you have shared with us today and all of the stories that you have shared. And it's been really wonderful to sit down with you. And before we let you go, how can we support you and your work?
I feel like you already are supporting me, because one of the reasons that I've stayed off is because I've been tuning in, like you said, just to get that encouragement, just to have a reminder of why I'm doing what I'm doing and that it works. And like I said, also, I got off Pinterest because of listening to you long enough. And so just continuing to do the work you're doing, continuing to be that example and that beacon of light, that there are so many other ways to do it and that you can be a writer and not have to be on social if you don't want to be. I just think that's huge. And I really appreciate all that you're doing.
Oh, thank you, Gabe. Thank you. Yeah, that's really encouraging to us. This was supposed to be an encouragement to you, and you flipped it around on us. That was very sneaky. We have so enjoyed talking with you today. Thank you so much for your time, and let's get together and do it again. This was fun.
Yeah, I'd love it.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I had a great time and I hope you did too. Before we go though, if you resonate with this episode, please consider leaving a review on iTunes or sharing it with a friend, as it helps grow the podcast. Also, if you're not a part of the Red Hot Accountability Club, what are you waiting for? It's a private online community away from the noise of social media that provides coaching, support, and encouragement as you go after your biggest goals in business or life in a stressless, no hustle kind of way. Inside the club, you will own your own results, hold yourself accountable, and lean on others for support. If you've been looking for a simple, off social media way to grow, then this is it. Head on over to redhotmindset.com/RHA to learn more and join us today. Again, that's redhotmindset.com/RHA. And I can't wait to welcome you into the club. In all things I pray, you just run your race. I believe in you.